Hi everyone. Welcome to Tapping Your Creativity in my studio today. I'm super excited to have Robin Marie. She is going to join us any minute now. Can't wait to have her on part two. She's the founder of Makers Tech U. And there she is.
Hello.
Hi, Robin Marie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I am having a really bit of a hard time today. Minneapolis is going through a lot, and my heart is aching. I'm heartbroken, and I almost feel like crying, but I'm not.
Yeah.
It's very eye-opening that this violence is coming through our city and destroying my beautiful Minneapolis. And but it's kind of surreal, really, what we're living through right now. And
Right.
I'm just really hoping to find peace and justice and just stability for our beautiful city, because we don't need to ever go into violence and destroy our city. So today, more than any day, we need your prayers,
Yes.
and we need our National Guard to protect us. And I am hoping that tonight will be a different story, and we can start just really, really just
To heal.
healing,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we all need healing right now. And
Yeah.
it's not enough to have the pandemic, but now on top of that, to be afraid and having to be home, it's definitely a change of scenery here in Minneapolis, which has always been so peaceful and beautiful. And so anyways, the show must go on, and I'm so excited that you're here today. So thank you for joining me on part two. This is
Yes.
incredible.
Thank
I
you.
can't wait for our viewers to get to know this side of you, because we met you the first time as an artist, which I think you're first and foremost also an artist.
Yeah.
And oh, I'm sorry, the phone is ringing. I don't know how that happened. I'm so sorry.
I just realized I didn't put my phone on Do Not Disturb, but I think we'll be okay. So
Okay. This is what happens on live TV, you guys.
I know.
Anything can happen.
That's right. That's right. So, but thank you for having me back. I'm really excited to be here. I feel like over the course of, I guess it's been about a month, maybe not quite a month since we spoke, that I just really feel like I've, gained a friend, and I feel like, we've enjoyed talking with one another aside from this. And yeah, so I think it's very exciting that we've been able to connect through this community, and I appreciate you having me back.
Yes, of course. I am so happy, and let's just jump into it.
Sure.
So for the people that weren't here the first time, please tell us your name and a little bit of your background.
Yeah, I'm Robin Marie Smith, and I'm pretty much a self-taught artist. I've been creating ever since I was a kid, which I'm sure a lot of us, we started out somehow we were creative. And
right.
But I was told, you can't make a living at being an artist, so you have to pick something, pick a job that will, give you an income. And I used to be so envious of the artists carrying their pads around campus and their toolboxes, and I was very envious because I really wanted to do something creative.
Right.
But fast forward, I was very techie when I was a kid as well. And so when computers came out, I was in college, loved all of that. And so I felt like I gravitated a little bit to that. But it's kind of interesting how I've come full circle now, where I am an artist. I do create. It is my job. I love it. But I'm also techie and have benefited from that in my business, and then also being able to help other artists and creatives overcome those challenges that they have in the tech area, because I speak their language. I am a creative and I'm an artist, so I can speak to them in a way that they can understand, because I'm coming at it from their perspective. And so I feel like it's kind of cool how it's come full circle now, and I'm doing both. I'm not just being creative and doing art, but I'm also still in the tech and still doing that. And I really love that I've been able to do both.
So tell me how, because you're the founder of Makers Tech U. Tell me how you went from one side of the spectrum to another side of the spectrum and decided to make a business out of it? Because I know that you had a different business before.
I did.
And so tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. I started Makers Tech U about a year and a half ago. I had a small beta team that kind of started with me, but the idea really came from having creatives and artists and makers reach out to me and ask me for help, because they knew that, mostly friends at first, you know, they knew that I could do the tech things. And so they would ask me and I'd help them. And then more people would tell their friends, and then more people would reach out. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll start helping design websites and doing things. But I quickly realized that it's hard to you can only take on so many people, right? And help.
Right.
So what if I could help more people? And that, I think I would really like that. So then I thought, let's start a membership community, a membership site where members would join, and then I would be able to help more people rather than just a few one-on-one. And so that's kind of where Makers Tech U was born. And predominantly it's about helping. First, you know, you've got to focus, you got to have your goals, you got to know who your audience is, you have to really have an idea of what you're wanting to do. And then it's really everything. It's photography, it's video editing, it's mainly website, because I found that a lot of the creatives were like, I need a website, I have no idea where to start, I don't know what to do. Or they're intimidated, and so they try something and realize it's too techy, too hard, and they give up, you know. So, but it's a lot. It's graphic design, it's a whole bunch of different topics that I cover, but most come in looking for instruction on creating their own website. I mean, you can hire a designer, but then if you can't maintain it and you can't update it and you can't really use it in the way that
you have to pay that someone every time.
Yeah,
so let me stop you right there for a second.
Yeah.
As an artist, and knowing how fast I'm learning all the technology, and kind of was thrown into this really quickly. I have joined Makers Tech U, and it's helping me so much, not only on just, you know, the website, because you talk about that, but, you know, just to be organized. You know, I was telling Roben Murray yesterday that I was listening to how to organize even your documents in your computer. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, how do I organize that part in my brain so everything stays organized? Because right now we're moving 150 miles an hour. So I do believe that at some point in our lives as artists, we need to, when we decide to make this a profession, we need to take the second step. The second step would be to have a presence online, social media platforms. Right. And, you know, before we never used to have to rely on it. And it seems like nowadays, it's like if you don't have that platform, or for people to look into your website or to know how to get a hold of you, they won't even look at you. They won't even look at your art. So it almost is hand to hand nowadays to have a website, at least. Having great photography of your artwork, and making sure that you have a visible contact information, just information about your art, and so on.
Yeah, and I mean, and you know, we are in a different time, but I look at it as a positive. You know, I'm not saying you were looking at it as a negative.
No.
It is a challenge, and it is not easy, especially when you're wired to be that creative and you're thinking that way. And then it's like, okay, I've got to learn these things, or at least enough that I can be relevant. But it's such a great opportunity. I mean, I wouldn't have my business, I wouldn't have any of this if it weren't for the internet. You know, wouldn't be, I mean, back before Instagram and Facebook, I was traveling and teaching. So I was able to get my name out there that way. But you can't be everywhere all the time. So, you know, I can't go to Europe every other month and connect with people. But now with what we have so much opportunity to get our story out and our message out in a way that we get to decide what it looks like. And so that's why a website's important. That's why your whole story, you're sharing that with the world. So you get to decide what that looks like to everybody. And I just think,
so tell us, Roben Marie, where do you start from zero? Let's say you don't have any presence whatsoever. How do you start to, you know, make yourself present in every single platform. So let's start with a website.
Yeah, I think, well, number one, I mentioned this earlier, you have to know what your goals are. I mean, it's, even if somebody came to me and said, I need you to design a website for me, you have to have certain things that you've made decisions on. You know, what are your goals? Who's your audience? Who are you speaking to? You know, you have to, because every time you're putting information out there, you are speaking to an audience. I don't post pictures of dogs and cats on my feed because I'm not trying to attract people who are interested in dogs and cats. That's not what I do. So I have to be aware of my goals and what is my ultimate goal here? Do I want to sell my work? Do I want to just show my work and enjoy that as a hobby? There's different goals, so there's different approaches. You know, you have to understand and know what that is. But I think if you're really just brand new, you can start your Instagram feed, get it focused, get it on point. If you're going to be looking towards maybe wanting to have a business eventually, that's okay. Just start thinking about that as you're posting and then make those improvements as you go. Because
so you would suggest maybe going first into Instagram before starting your website?
I think that yes, because it's the easiest thing to do right now.
Okay, so that you can start today. You can make, you can start today and start uploading content.
That's right.
And it's all about your content.
That's right. And through that, you're practicing your photography, getting better at your photography. That will help you when you get your website, because you're going to have photos on your website. And then you're starting to connect with an audience. They're starting to know who you are. You're starting to build that relationship and engage with them so that when your website is ready, you have a place to send them to. I mean, I guess you could go the other way, but so many creatives that I work with are like, that's so daunting to me and so big. If you can start with the small thing like Instagram, that's an easy and not so threatening way to start. Plus you've got other resources with that. You've got stories, you've got IGTV. There's other things there, but I think that would be a smart way to start. And if you already have your Instagram, then let's make it better. Like let's make it to where your account's better. And there's definitely things that you can do for that as well.
So yesterday I made a podcast with Allison Stanfield, and it will come out on June 11th, and it was fantastic. But what Allison, one of the questions that she asked me was, what would you say to someone who wants to even start a live on Instagram, for example?
Sure.
And what have you learned? And I said, you really have to have great content and have either something creative to show or something that you can teach to attract the viewers and keep them engaged. Because if you are not there and you're not ready, and you want to do it, just start by practicing, and video yourself and make sure that everyone can do this, except you got to make sure that the content is there. So it applies throughout, I think, through everything. So if you're not ready to do the lives, stick with just uploading pictures for now and practicing until you can start maybe doing lives.
That's right. And I think, but that goes back to what I said about knowing your audience and knowing what your goal is. If you just sit down and you go, I'm going to do a live, but I have no idea. Well, you got to know who you're talking to. Who are you wanting to, what story and message are you sending?
What's message?
Who
exactly.
Is it? Right. Who do you want
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So tell us to start a website. So it's not so daunting for the people that are watching. How do you start a website? What platforms do you use? Do you offer, something that's already kind of made and you just kind of, upload stuff? Just tell us, what would be the easiest way to go about it?
Sure. In Makers Tech U, my focus is on Squarespace. And I'm asked a lot, which site, what platform should I use? Should I do it myself with WordPress? And I've used WordPress. WordPress has a lot of bells and whistles. There's a lot of option there. But for someone who is not, and I'm tech savvy and I prefer not to use it, mostly because I don't want to spend the amount of time that it takes to maintain it, to continually update it, to do all the back end things that you have to do, because you basically are in charge of it. It's yours. You have it on a server. I'm not going to get too techie, but with Squarespace, you pay a monthly fee to have your website with Squarespace. They handle all the updates. They handle security. There are a lot of things and bonuses that come with that you don't have to worry. I never have to worry about whether things are being updated and the security is, because they do all of that for me. And so to me, that is worth it because then I don't have to deal with that. And I don't want the headache of having to deal with that. Could I do it? Yeah, but I'd rather spend more time making art than worrying about the security of my website. When you sign up for Squarespace, you start with a template. And from that, everything's kind of in there. I think of it as sort of, they're building blocks where you kind of go in and you just start building. And in Makers Tech U, I walk the members through step by step. Start here and I send them through the process of exactly what they need to do. And it's amazing. I mean, I've got members, their sites are beautiful. They look just like them and they're branded and their personality comes through. And I mean, I've had several, they're like, I have had this as a goal of mine for so many years. And I'm so glad that I now have it done. And I can—
You have the tools and you have the tools
tools
that you've learned to now, you know, have control of what that website would look like and make the changes yourself.
Yeah. And I think too, I'm often asked, you know, why should I have a website? Well, number one, a website is yours. You get to decide how you present yourself. Right. No one else is gonna, you know, I mean, we've all heard Instagram, Facebook, what if it shuts down? What if they close your account? Whatever. But with your website, you have full control over that. You get to decide exactly what the experience is to those that come to your website. It's a great way for you to showcase your work in the way that you want to showcase it. It's a great way to sell your work, for you to be able to build that audience so that those that are wanting to purchase from you, whether it's physical art or an online course or other digital products, they have a place that they can go to do that. It's like your home, it's your home base. I like to think of it as that. You know, it's your hub, you know, like at an airport where you've got the, you know, these are the hubs and all the planes are going out. This is your home base. And I think it's important to have that. Even today with social media, I think it's important to have it. And you don't have to have something that's super sophisticated with 15, 20 pages. You can just have the basics and it will serve you well. So
yes, 100%. Now, like for yourself, how did you build up all your different platforms? Because Roben Marie is present in every way, shape, or form. So, and it's fantastic because you are incredibly talented in what you do, and you have been able to maintain, you know, the viewers in every platform, meaning podcast, YouTube. You're an author of books. You post all the time on Instagram. You have your newsletter, plus you have Makers Tech U. So that's a lot. So how do you not thin out on one of them?
Yeah, I can't say there's a magic, you know, here's the potion and this is what you do. I think that and I think for me, it's a challenge because I love it so much that I want to be everywhere because I love it. But that doesn't mean that everyone has to be everywhere. Like Twitter is my least favorite, and then Facebook, because to me it's cluttered. It's so busy, and I
get lost.
Yeah, I get lost. And so Instagram, to me, it's cleaner. I don't feel as anxious when I'm there. But I know that I have people that are on Facebook and they want to hear from me in that platform. So I don't worry about, okay, everything has to be different. There are times when I might write the caption a little differently, or maybe the photo is different. But I think you have to just decide what is your priority and focus on that, and then work towards getting your system down and how you do it. And then you can kind of say, all right, now I'm ready to kind of bring in something else. But I think keeping organized is the key. And that's not always easy.
Do you use, for example, for Instagram, do you use like Latergram or anything that is?
I do.
So tell us a little bit for people that don't understand how to use Instagram and how to post, because how important is to post, how many posts per day, you know, what is too much, what is too little, and how to build Instagram. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I think that there's keys to, I think, building your following. You want to build a following that is the following you want. I mean, just because somebody has, you know, 30,000 followers, their engagement could be low. They might not, you know, you just don't know. So numbers are not always a factor of super success. They're just not. But if
Correct.
you've got engagement going and people are commenting and you're getting direct messages and but also be careful, because with that growth comes the need to put attention to it. Like if people are commenting on your photos, you need to be responding to them. That's how you build engagement, and that's how you are building your community. I do the best I can, but there's days that go by that I don't get to it, and then I have to go back and I go back and answer or post on the comments. It's something that is a continual thing, and if you want to build, you have to be consistent. So posting, I don't know that I've discovered for me any magic number. I try to post every day depending on what's going on. Right now I'm doing the 100-day project, so that's easy. I'm posting every day. There are times when I'll do at least 3 or 4 days a week, and I feel okay with that, or every other day. For stories, that's a huge challenge for me. I've been trying to work more towards being consistent with that. But if I can do it two or three times a week, I'm feeling pretty good about that. But doing 5 or 10 times a day, first of all, I don't know what I would post that many times a day. What would I do? What would I show? You know, it's like,
right. There's enough content that you can come up with.
I need to borrow my neighbor's dog, so I have something.
Right.
Yeah. So I think super important is to being consistent, replying to the comments. And I also think that when I first started Instagram, hashtags were not like really a big, I never even used hashtags, but the hashtags are important. And I have noticed that when I post something and accidentally don't put the comments in, or the hashtags, it's like no one's responding to it. Like I don't get the number of likes, I don't get the number of comments. So just by doing every now and then doing a test like that, I see that they are legit. And I mean, when you're searching hashtags, you want your content to come up in those searches. So it's really important to use the hashtags. I do try to use.
How do you learn how to use the hashtags, or how many do you use, or what wording should you be using?
Yeah, I use the max. If I can, I have it set up
30, right? 30 is the max.
30. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I
30 is the magic number, people.
Yeah, magic number 30 is I've created groups of hashtags that are based on topics. So if I'm posting more of a business type of post, I have certain hashtags I use for that. Art journaling, mixed media, whatever. And then I rotate those around, because you don't want to use the same hashtags every single post. Use your own hashtag, like Tech Savvy Artist. That's one that I use. It's just one I use on every post because it's mine. I don't say mine. Anybody can use that hashtag, but I started using it.
Right.
So most of what
that's how I started my hashtag Army of Artists.
Yes,
kind of
exactly. Come up with something and then you use that. But the way to find the hashtags is when you go into hashtag search, and let's say you type in something like mixed media art, there's gonna be a bazillion posts with that hashtag. So you don't really want to use these consistently, all of these hashtags that have so many posts, because then you get lost. So when you're doing the searching, look and see what else comes up. Mixed media art, mixed media artist, mixed media art, flowers, whatever it is. Find some that's less than, maybe it's 500,000, maybe it's 100,000. Go with something like that. That will help you get found a lot faster. Yeah. Is my video still there? Because I look frozen on.
Yeah, you're a little frozen, but we can still hear you. Can you hear me? There you go.
I'm here.
There. You're back. Maybe you got a text or something.
Okay, and you are too on my end. Right. I don't know.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah, and I also, and I think too, it's looking at who are the people that you're trying to attract. Who do you want to gain as followers? Is to search out those hashtags and find people who are using them that are your audience, and then like their posts. Leave comments on their posts. People can find you easy that way too, especially if you're posting on their Instagram posts. So, but it takes time and it takes consistency.
So if let's say you want to put hashtag art, there's 80 million hashtag arts. So if you put that on yours, you're gonna get swallowed into 100 million of them. Yep. So, find that hashtag that is less than what would you say the magic number would be?
I kind of look at, you know, 500,000 and less. If it's even, you know, 100, 200,000, that's great. Now,
that's great.
It's probably not going to be that great, but you know, if there's like millions, I just, you know, I use a couple of them that are in that high number, but for the most part, I go in periodically and search and experiment and say, oh, that's a great one. Or the other thing you can do is look at other hashtags that are being used by other people. When you go in, sometimes I'll do my research and I'll go, oh, that's a cool hashtag. And then I click over and see how many are using it, and then be like, oh, that's a great new one. I'll start using that one. So,
yes. So now do you pre-post everything? So by the week you have your whole posts going out?
I yes and no. I do use Planoly, and Planoly is a scheduler. And I do that because I like to kind of write some of my captions out. I like to have things organized, but I do then add stuff in on the fly. So some things are pre-scheduled, like with 100-Day Project, you know, I'm doing it every day.
Right, you can't do that.
I might pop in quotes, or I might pop in some other things that I'm like, oh, I'd like to share that. Or something's on my mind and I find a photo that might be relevant, I'll put that in. But I do like to keep everything super organized and in there. Plus, they allow you to put those hashtag groupings in, so that when it comes time for me to put the hashtags in, I just click the grouping and boom, they're all in there. I don't have to retype them. So it is a big time saver to use a scheduler. And you can use them, there's free ones. I happen to be on a paid plan with them just because of the level of all the features that I wanted, but there's a lot of good options out there. And so I do encourage it in Makers Tech, and I teach some of the options, but if you strictly want to do it on the fly, then do it on the fly. But you don't have to do them all that way.
Okay, now let's move into YouTube.
Okay.
So let's say that you're starting a channel, or you want to start a channel, or you want to start showing, you know, you want to just teach, you want to, you know, whatever. Then how do you do that? Where do you even start?
It's been a long time since I started my YouTube channel. So you got to start your channel. You got to create your YouTube channel. I think that number one, it's important that you have good video skills and editing skills, because no matter what your page looks like, once someone starts watching your videos, they have a perception of you right then. I mean, I look at the old videos I did back in the day. I'm so glad I've improved since then, but even technology's improved. The cameras are even better. So I think it's important to learn, you know, the basics of filming, making it clear, making you be able to see. Lighting is super important. And I say this because I am an instructor as well. And I know from experience in taking classes and seeing things, I know what I've liked and what I didn't like. If I can't see what the instructor's doing, or the lighting is really bad, I'm probably not going to pay for a class. If your free stuff is, you know, mediocre, that's what people are going to see. And that's what they're going to judge and say, well, I don't know if I want to take a class with, I don't know if I want to spend the money if it's not going to be quality. And there's just too many resources out there and you don't have to spend a lot of money to have good lighting and to do a good job and edit your videos, people. I'm a stickler for that.
What do you use to edit your videos? Do you recommend any particular?
Yeah, I have for many years used iMovie. The application I use now is called Camtasia. And I use it just because it has more bells and whistles and a lot more flexibility in what you can do with editing. Like you can add captions, subtitles. There's just so many things, and it's relatively easy to use, and it's not super expensive. So I've been learning that over the last year, and I pretty much am using that exclusively to using iMovie. But just editing in general, like if you're filming and you're doing your video and your tripod falls down, or the dog is barking, or someone comes in, you need to edit that out. Don't leave all that in your video, guys. Take the time to do transitions and edit stuff out so that it flows as professionally as you can make it. Those are things that are simple and easy to do versus just leaving it all in there and just presenting that.
And it sounds very daunting, but once you get in the app, it kind of shows you how to do it, and you just have to try it. You just have to, you know, it's like this trial and error, and all of a sudden you're just going to get it.
Well, and one of the things that I teach this in Makers Tech U as well, is that when you start filming with editing in mind, it is so different because you're thinking about the editing process while you're doing your filming. So for instance, if I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I realize that something I need is across the table, I can pause for a moment, go reach over and grab it, and then, pull it back and then pause and know that that's going to be a good cut. I'm not going to have half a sentence cut out because I'm reaching and talking or whatever. As you're filming and you're thinking about editing, those things become so much easier. And it's the little things. It's like
Right.
you have a paintbrush and it's wrapped in plastic or whatever, and you're talking, but you're opening up the packaging while you're filming. Do you know how that's going to sound on the video? You don't realize these things until you start doing it. And then you get into a system. And another tip that I have is when you're editing, especially for creatives and artists, if we are sharing a supplies list, we're sharing what we're using because everyone wants to know.
Yes.
As editing, write it down. Have a pad right there. I use this particular whatever. And then you have a little list when you're finished, and you don't have to go back to the video and re-listen or try to remember what you had. You've already gone through the editing process. That's where you take your notes and you write stuff down. So that's just a little tip.
Yeah, no, and I think that it's been very interesting to see throughout, my the start of this interviews that everyone wants to know the materials. Everyone wants to know everything. Everyone wants to know what you're using, how you're using it, why you're using it.
Oh,
and I think that we have been an open book. Every artist that has come into this interviews, they've been an open book. And so it's amazing. And everyone wants just to hear that information so then they can maybe apply it themselves. Right. So
I'd be surprised how many people notice things in your video that you're like, I had somebody the other day message me and I'm like, I had no idea what she was talking about. I'm like, what? So she had to do a screenshot and it was something that was in the picture on my desk. I wasn't even using it. I was like, oh, okay, I know now. Like,
yes. And so when you're talking about filming a lesson or a class, what is your equipment other than lighting that you mentioned? Do you have a tripod probably on your table that you're going to be showing what you're doing? And then do you use your iPhone or do you have a professional camera?
Yeah, those are great questions. And I have shifted out of necessity more than anything. When I first started, I was using my DSLR, strictly my digital camera, strictly for video, for filming. 20 minutes is the max. So I'd have to kind of monitor as I was filming 20 minutes and then it would kick off and I'd have to restart. So that was kind of a pain. And the setting that I have is what is called a boom stand. It looks like a giant tripod. It has a post and then a post goes across the top. And then I have my connector where my camera would hang above where I was working. So the tripod's on the other side of the desk, and then it comes up and over. And then you can flip it in the editing process. So you don't have to really worry about that when you're filming. I don't use a tripod because I have in the past, and I like to sew and I like to use other mediums and it would shake the table. Plus I would hit the table and then the camera would move. So the boom stand was really affordable. I think you can get a nice simple one for like $130. They're not.
Yeah, you can. Yep. And Amazon sells them, and I'm gonna list everything that Roben Marie is saying. So don't worry, I'm gonna give all these tips in my comments.
They're so worth the investment. But anyway, I mentioned I'd used my DSLR for many, many years. And then within the last year or so, I was starting to have problems with it. It needs to be repaired. And we had no local place. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to use my iPhone because I need to get these things videoed. And I found that I actually really liked using the iPhone. I was like, wow, this is actually kind of easy.
Yeah.
And so I just have a connector that I stick on there and I'm able to use it. And then I have a small tabletop one that in fact, I'm using that now because I'm not in the studio, it's an Arkon, I think is the brand, and it has a post and then the thing sticks out and it's just the camera's right there. So simple. And then lighting, I have box lighting. So I have the box lighting are just big soft boxes. They're big squares. And I have one on each side that because I don't have a lot of natural light in my studio space. And so if you don't, and you don't have a really big window, the lighting can be a challenge. And so I just over time have kind of figured it out, and that's works for me in my space. But I think the light is so, so important when you're doing filming. You don't want it to be dark, and you really want people to be able to see what you're doing. So,
okay. So now we covered Instagram, website, YouTube. Let's go into podcast. What makes you, I know, it's crazy the amount of platforms, but you know, it's all great information for our audience. And I think they want to hear, you know, each platform has a very different approach. And also they kind of you know, they have a connection. So if you want to start a podcast, how do you do that?
That's a great question. I wasn't prepared for that. I have to say, I haven't even been doing our podcast. I think it's been about a year. I have a podcast called Creatives Get Real. My art friend and co-host, Sandy Keene, and I do this together. I had wanted to do a podcast for years. And I was like, my fear was more of showing up every week to do a podcast. It wasn't so much the tech and doing it. It was, what on earth am I going to talk about every week, you know? And so
tell us again the name of the podcast.
It's Creatives Get Real is the name of the podcast.
Okay.
And so my friend Sandy loves to do collaborations. And I asked her, I said, would you like to do a podcast with me? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So we started it last year, but we talked about it and decided that we wanted ours to be real, as in it's not super polished. We don't hire out the editing so that everything sounds great and there's no issues. We don't. And I'm sure that's probably a no-no in the industry, that everything should be super polished and all. And I'm like, no, we're going to keep it real.
I'm the first one that will vouch for that.
You know, just like
I am not a professional, people. I'm trying my best here.
Hey, you know what? I mean, we make it do as good a quality as we can. We do edit. We just don't have all this super duper technological stuff where we're trying to get everything to sound just right. Sometimes we film or record by Zoom. Sometimes we're in the room together. I mean, that's 2 microphones you're dealing with. And, you know, I just did a little research.
When you're in the same room, we have 2 mics?
We actually it's a lavalier mic. And so we plug it in. And she's got one that connects to her shirt, and I've got one that connects to mine. So it's 1 mic going in, but it's technically 2.
Okay.
We find that the audio is better than it was trying to use like a stand-up microphone. But again, everybody, you know, and even when
if you're in your house and she's in her house, you use the stand-up one.
Yeah, we're doing Zoom. Yeah, we both are on Zoom, and I just use the earbuds for that. Yeah. So
yeah.
It needs to work.
I did my podcast yesterday, like I said, with Allison Stanfield, and you know, we did it Zoom, and it was great because it feels like you're actually talking to someone and you're not just talking to air.
Yes. I've done interviews as a guest over the phone, and it was just really weird because you can't see the person. What's great about Zoom is that Zoom will, when you record, it will do a separate video and a separate audio file. So you just pull that audio file and you're good to go. So starting a podcast, I think understanding who your audience is and what is it you want to talk about, and being consistent. I mean, if you're going to do a podcast, don't just show up and do 4 episodes and then not show up anymore unless you say, I'm done. You know, there's a commitment. Let me just say that. There's a commitment to doing it. It's a lot of fun. We really enjoy it. It gives us great content that we can then use in other ways, not just through the podcast. And we just enjoy being together. So it's a lot of these conversations we were finding we'd have over just art time or lunch. And it was like, you know what? These are conversations we have anyway. Let's just share them with others.
So once you finish an episode, tell us exactly what happens. You're done recording, and then how do you share it with the world?
Okay, so you need to have I'll try not to get too techie. There's a service that you will use that you will upload your audio file to, that then on a schedule that you decide disseminates it to iTunes, Stitcher. It goes out to those. You have to have that service, and it's not expensive. I think we pay $12 a month for it. And then you have so many audio files time you can upload. So you have to have that in place. We use something called Buzzsprout, and it's super nice. It's easy. And I did some research and decided that was the one I wanted to use. So basically I take the audio file and I put it in GarageBand. GarageBand is a platform or a software where you can edit audio files. And I go in, I add our intro, because our intro is recorded, it's music. So that goes in, and then we have an outro. So I have my intro, the podcast, the outro, I do the editing. I edit out stuff like the phone ringing or the dog barking, or she and I are sitting there and we totally forgot what we were going to say. I mean, there's some funny stuff that we've actually shared later in bloopers, but it's like, it's not always perfect. I mean, we'll be sitting there and then all of a sudden it's like, we totally forgot what we were going to say. I mean, it's just fun stuff. But so once I get that file edited down, then I upload it to Buzzsprout, which is the software that, or the company that gets it out there to all those channels. And then I also do the graphics, because you want to have a graphic for each episode, or you can have just one graphic that you use for everything that lets people know that's your podcast. Basically, that's what shows up if you watch or listen to podcasts.
Yes.
Like iTunes, there's a graphic for it.
Correct.
But you got to create that. And then I do a blog post every week for
Do you stay across the board kind of like the same, or do you change your graphic from Instagram to YouTube to podcast?
No, the actual podcast itself has its own graphic that says Creatives Get Real.
It does. Okay.
Every week per episode, I change the graphic to have the title of the episode on it. And those get posted to Instagram and Facebook. And those are different every week because I tailor that to the episode.
Okay.
So different. We just
now let me ask you,
wanting to do that.
Yeah. How do you get sponsors then?
Now, see, that I can't answer because we don't have sponsors. We just do it solo. We don't make any money from this. This is just for fun. So I can't answer.
Do you know? Do you have any idea if you wanted to do that, how to go about that?
Well, I think that it would be, I mean, we do talk about certain products a lot and we'll joke around. It's like, oh, we need to get them to sponsor us. I think that it's important for you to be able to show consistency and to be able to show your numbers as far as your listeners, your downloads. And I think that can entice sponsors. I don't understand. I really can't say because I don't know what that threshold is of sponsors going, yeah, I want to be, you know, you have 100,000 downloads. We want to be on your show. So, but here's the other thing. We could individually use our own products or our own things and we could sponsor that. So it'd be like in the podcast saying, okay, this episode is brought to you by Makers Tech U, where we can use that to help promote our own things. So there's other ways, you know, but we didn't go into this intention of having sponsors and making an income from it. We do it for fun. We do it for content that we can then share in other ways. We do it. Yeah. So I wish I could answer more on that one, but I just don't know because I haven't.
No. Okay, now we're going to switch gears. And we're going to talk about how important is it to have a mailing list?
Super duper important. Yes, it's very important. So think about this is when you've got your mailing list, and a mailing list, guys, would be you have people that sign up to be on your mailing list so that you can then send emails to them about whatever it is you choose to send. I know our viewers here are on many email lists. I mean, from everything from anthropology to, you know, whatever, we're on mailing lists and we get stuff constantly. Sometimes we don't want all that stuff that we're getting, right? But your mailing list is your way to communicate with people who've said to you, I want to hear from you. Those are the easy ones. Those are the people that you've worked hard to get on your mailing list.
How do you start from zero?
Yeah.
This is important. How do you start from zero?
Yeah.
To ask subscribers? How do you do that?
Well, the first thing you have to do is have a way for them to sign up. So you need to have that, whatever that email service provider, whatever that company is, whether it's MailChimp, MailerLite, Squarespace has a built-in, there's Flowdesk. There's a variety of them out there. Some are free for a certain number of signups, and then others, you know, you pay. But I want to say this. If you go into it with the mindset of I'm going to grow my list, then do it. Don't go in and say, I only want to grow my list to the point where I have to start paying, and then I'm going to stop because I don't want to pay. That's not how you grow a business. You grow your business by continually expanding and growing that list because, again, it's so much easier to reach out to those people, especially when you have something new that you're selling or you want to share. They've already know you and they've already said, reach out to me. That's a whole lot easier than going out and trying to find strangers to tell about your product or whatever it is you have.
Right.
So you need to know, you need to figure out what that platform is. How are you going to get that form on your website or wherever? And it doesn't always have, you don't have to have a website to do this, because a lot of these services have what we call landing pages. Basically, it's this one page, you can sign up and you're done. So you don't have to have a website to start doing this, guys. You can start now, but you have to have an incentive for them to sign up. So let's say you, I mean, you could just say, sign up to be on my newsletter, but you know what? Everyone has a mailing list now. You want to give value. You want them to have something they look forward to maybe every week or every other week that you send to them. But maybe that first thing is, maybe it's a free podcast episode. Maybe it's a free video tutorial that you've done that you can then lead them to and say, you know, if you sign up to be on my list, I'll give you access to this free class or free tutorial or whatever that is. Could be a resource library. Maybe you have some resources on your website you want to give them access to. You just kind of get creative. And then they'll sign up. But then once they do, that's not end and done, you know, or one and done. You need to then reach out to them on a regular basis, right, to help them get to know you better. It's like dating, you know, it's like, yes. Oh, this will be our second date now. And then, you know, be consistent in sending them things. The worst thing is for someone to sign up. If they don't want to stay on your list, they'll unsubscribe, and that's okay. Because if they unsubscribe, they probably aren't interested in what you have anyway. But if they sign up and then you send something to them once, maybe twice, and then 8 months down the road, you have a class and you send them an email, they're going to go, I don't even remember who this person is.
How often do you send out a newsletter?
I have been really working hard to be consistent every single week to send out a newsletter. If I don't,
and what does it say? Like what would people should say, or what give us a tip.
Yeah, what I do when you sign up, I have what I call sort of a welcome series of emails that helps them get to know who I am. And then I lead them to free things that I have that I've done. You know, hey, there's this free class. If you signed up for this one, you might be interested in this. And then the newsletter is basically just, it's more timely. These are the things that are going on. This week, I have a new tutorial for you. Here's the video link. Go check it out. I'm talking about this. Or this week I talked about these art supplies on my website. Here's a video, pop over. I keep it short and sweet, because when I get emails, I don't want to get an email that's got text this long. I'm not going to read it. I like to see images, break it up with sections, and then tell me one thing that I'm supposed to do as a result of that email. Click this link and go watch that video. Okay, that sounds great. I'm going to go do that. But don't give them
clear, concise, and to the point.
Yes, that's the way I like to do it, because that's the way I like to receive those emails.
Yes.
If I get emails that are like, they're just like novels, and if it's too much text, I'm not going to read it. I don't care what you're saying. Yes. So I try to keep it short and sweet, images, make it, you know, we're creatives. The people that you're reaching out to are other artists and creatives. They want to see things that are creative. Right. And so that's what I do. I just try to keep it short and sweet. If I have a freebie, if I have a podcast episode that we just did, and I think, man, y'all really, and I'll like pull out some of the tips maybe that we talk about, and then I'll say, go listen for the whole show. So that's what I do. I try not to stress out too much over it. Sometimes I even just do an audio. I'll just do my own little audio file, and I'll just talk to my audience, and then just put that in there and they can link to it. So yeah, I try to keep it just short and simple and to the point of something I think they would be interested in. So yeah.
I guess tell us, you're giving a freebie for the people that are watching this today, which I'm super excited. Tell us about that.
Yes, I have some free Instagram training. I had done this training before, and it was only for like a limited time, but it's opened up now, and it's basically going to help you optimize your Instagram to get your profile in ship-top shape so that it's working for you. We're going to talk about hashtags, some of the things that we talked about earlier, just how to kind of work with hashtags, and then also some help with your captions, some things that you can do to make your captions good and help improve those. There's 3 videos in this training, and you can sign up on my website. I know we're going to put that with the
On my comments.
so that, yeah, in the comments,
Yes.
so that you guys can go and sign up there. It's free. Just come in. And I've had really good feedback on it. It's a small taste of what's inside Makers Tech U. I just pulled out a little bit of the content for that and I'm showing you some of that. And I think that if everyone can make some improvements in their Instagram. Everyone.
Yes.
I'm always looking for ways to make mine better and work for me better. So yeah, so I hope you'll sign up. It's free. And
yes,
yeah.
yes. If you have any questions, this will be the right time to ask anything that you have.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity of taking that free class. This is amazing. It's amazing for our community. It will help us so much. And I just thank you again, Robin Marie, for being here, for giving us this incredible information.
My pleasure.
Our heads now are filled with stuff that we need to get going today. And again, I just want to say, we have more now than ever. I'm going to need you guys to help us sell those collections. Our food shelters are going to need it more than ever.
Yes.
Our third district here in Minneapolis, we have children that are scavenging for food right now because there's local stores where they used to walk have been destroyed. So we're asking now more than ever, please help me when I put out the collections out there to make money for Feeding America. More now than ever, we need your help. And 100% of the proceeds will go to Feeding America. And I'm just so grateful for this artist community that are coming together to help. And we're doing it for an amazing cause. And thank you, Robin Marie, for being a part of this, for being my friend. And I can't wait for our future friendship just to grow. And thank you, everyone. And one more thing I want to say is stay tuned, guys, because I'm going to have a big surprise later today. An announcement of our June calendar artists. They are incredible people. You're gonna want to tune in every Wednesday and Saturday at noon Central Time. They're teachers, artists, interior designers, just incredible lineup of artists. I can't wait to share it with you guys. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks again, Robin Marie. Have a great day. And sending peace and love to my community here, and prayers for everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Robin Marie.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.